of course, got me playing music for him on YouTube. My manager Joe, of course, got me playing music for him on YouTube.
My manager Joe, of course, he be asking me if I did that for him already.
My manager Joe, of course, be asking me if I'm sending that cash out.
My manager Joe, of course, he's about to send me those marriage papers.
My manager Joe, of course, he's sending me the proximity papers knowing we don't got a kid together.
My manager Joe, of course, he wants me to send a message from one of his little friends in there.
My manager Joe, of course, he got me doing 30 to the bros in jail because they own lots of phones.
My manager Joe, of course, he services always ending my 30-minute phone calls.
This right here. Look at this right here.
Did you spell my name right? Oh, that's so cute.
Like, you didn't know how to spell your name right before? Look at this, though. She fell more in love with her boyfriend while he's in jail.
You're in prison.
Hey, all right, Shalom. All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, Kodash. I want to say the double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, a great millstone, for teaching his word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to the elect, Lord, when we're some of those men and women who believe in fear in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another quick lesson. And it was inspired by this video that you see right here in front of you, entitled Keisha Loves the Prisoners but Hates the Working Man, right? And hey, Apostle Gabar, I heard the first person to coin or bring up the phrase Hybristophilia, and how the so-called black and Latin women, right, they really suffer from Hybristophilia, right? What is Hybristophilia? Okay, Hybristophilia is the phenomenon characterized by sexual interest in and attraction to those who commit crimes. The term Hybristophilia is coined by John Money in 1986 and is derived from the Greek word hubrism, meaning to commit an outrage against someone, ultimately derived from hubris and philo, meaning having a strong affinity or preference for. In popular culture, the phenomenon is also known as Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, right? And that's what the nigga woman, especially these young women, man, they really are suffering from a disease, man. It's a mental disease, right? And really, it's because women love wickedness, right? They in the so-called free world, they try to portray the woman as innocent, loving, caring, in need of protection and provisions. But in reality, that's not what she wants, right? She don't want a man that's working, that has his freedom. Because when you have what they call freedom in this world, where you have options, right? You got more choices. And these women, they love the control, right? And that goes back to the precepts, right? You go to the book of Genesis, Salakia. You go to the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and the desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee, right? And this is the reason why this is a curse given to all women, because of what Eve did in the garden. This is the reason why these women, when they have children, they have birth pains, and they give birth in sorrow, they're crying, right? But I want to focus on the second portion of this, but let me read it in NLT. Then he said unto the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth, and you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you, right? And that's all women's desires. Every woman that you meet out here, she wants to control you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And these women, they love men in prison because they have a sense of control. They know he 9 times out of 10, the man ain't dealing with another woman, because that's like a cardinal sin to these women out here. Meanwhile, they got a man banging them out 7 days a week while dude is at work or in prison. Right? He can't do nothing. Right? These women are not they're not self-controlled. They're self-willed, but they're not self-controlled. So they can't control that burning when they want to have sex. They can't control that. They have no ability to order their desires, man. So it's not like these women are just sitting out here untouched by a man, another man, right? They're committing adultery while this dude is in prison. He could care less because he's doing 10 to 5 or 20 to life. But she loves that. A lot of these women love it. And I remember back in the day, used to try to put it on just the big girls, the white girls, the big fat white chicks that be looking for dudes in prison. But all these women are like that. You just seen an example of that. And especially the black woman, she suffers from hybristophilia to the most, man. Right? They love being a servant to a man in prison, but they will never be a servant to a man in the so-called free world. You out here working, you out here earning a living, earning a wage, and they got all these delusions about what a man should make, how a man should be. But then they turn into a nigga that commits crimes, right? A man that kills people, a man that robs and steals. And that's why the scripture says all wickedness is but little to that of a woman. The scriptures also says, sit not in the multitude of women, for from a garment comes moths, and from women wickedness, man. Right? Women, they breed and exude wickedness. Right? And they don't like to hear that. They call, oh, you hate women. Nah. Women have their place, but they're supposed to be ruled over. Like the scripture says, her desire is to control her husband, but he shall rule over you. And ultimately, that's what these women want. But see, they get turned on by men that commit crimes. Here it is, this dude committing all kinds of crimes. This man is committing all these crimes. Now he's in prison with a whole bunch of men, right? Borderline in homosexuality, or maybe indulging in it, right? They love that. They love a man in a cage, right? They don't want a man that's out here moving and shaking, because you got more options, right? So I looked this up right here. Let me get this other precept before I go to this. This is the book of First Ezra chapter 4, and I'm gonna start at 22, right? Because this is, I believe, it's Zerubbabel that was given this breakdown about what has the most power, right? What endures the longest. So let me read this. It says, First Ezra chapter 4, verse 22. By this also you must know that women have dominion over you. Do ye not labor and toil and give and bring all to the woman? Yea, a man taketh his sword and goeth his way to rob and to steal and to sell upon the sea and upon rivers, and looketh upon lions and goeth in darkness. And when he have stolen, spoiled, and robbed, he bringeth it to his love. Wherefore a man loveth his wife better than father and mother. Yea, many there be that have run out of their wits for a woman and become a servant for their sake. And that's ultimately, many also have perished, have erred, and sinned for women. A lot of these men that are in prison, you're in jail for killing another dude over your woman, spazzing out, losing your emotional control over a woman. A lot of men are in the ground, are back in the spirit world because of a woman. As the scripture says, of the woman beginning to sin, and through her we all die, right? And she don't like to hear that. She don't want to hear the truth about herself, right? These women, they seek to control men. They seek to rule over you. They want servants. They don't want husbands. A husband is a leader. A husband is an instructor. A husband is the head of order. And these women don't want that. They want a nigga that's in prison. They want a nigga that's locked up, doing 15 to life for some dumb shit, right? They prefer the thugs, and music, it pushed that. It pushed that image. How many of these women out here say they rather have a scammer than a man that work a 9 to 5, or they rather have a drug dealer than a man that work 9 to 5, right? Even if the dude pulling in 200,000 and 300,000, which he's not, like, she prefer the nigga that's in the streets versus the man that's trying to live an upright life. And this shows you that hybristophilia is rampant amongst the Israelite women, right? It's rampant. Hybristophilia is rampant. These women love men. It turns them on when a man commits crime. I remember years ago, I got a female cousin. I got a bunch of them, but one in particular, her ex-husband, he divorced her while he was in prison to deal with another woman, right? This nigga went to prison. He's in prison right now for double homicide. And she said, I know he looking good in there right now because, you know, he ain't out here in the world and shit. And she said when he come home from prison, he gonna be looking good. She said, I'll marry him again if I had a chance to. Right? That's what she said. She sat there and said that shit to me, bro. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, and I was taking it back. And I thought to myself, like, that's all these women, bro. They love the criminal, bro. Because they're criminals, man. Women are like flies and shit. That's how women are to wickedness. Straight up. That's why even King Solomon said, out of 1,000 women, I found none that are righteous, man. Not none. Right? These demons, they'll so-called hold you down while you locked up, send you money, nasty pictures, come visit you, take a 2 and 3 hour ride on a fucking bus or a car to go see a man housed in a warehouse called a prison. Right? And be more dedicated to that nigga than to a man out here in these streets. Right? And that's because hybristophilia. Right? Hybristophilia is rampant, especially amongst you so-called Negro, Latino, Native American women. You love niggas in prison. And this is an example of that. This video is a great example of that. Keisha loves the prisoner, but hates the working man, right? And she hates the working man because the working man has more options. One, the working man sometimes has more control, and he does have control of the situation. He ain't got to put up with the shit. He can leave. A nigga that's in prison is wholly dependent on a woman out here in the so-called free world, bro. While she going and eating at Chili's and TGIF Fridays and Applebee's with her other fellow prison sister, right? They love that shit. They look at the evil in this demon's eyes, bro. They love that shit, right? So I asked ChatGPT. This shit is fucking crazy. You can't make this shit up, bro. I asked ChatGPT, right? I asked ChatGPT, the good old automated Idumean. I said, why do so many American women love being in relationships with men in prison? It says this is a complex, often misunderstood phenomenon. While not all American women are drawn to men in prison, there is a documented pattern where some women form romantic relationships with incarcerated men. Here are several psychological and emotional and social reasons why this happened. Yeah, because the woman is psychologically out of her fucking mind, bruh. Because you're never going to see a group of men sitting together talking about a woman he got in prison. Because even if she in prison, she got a whole bunch of pen pals writing her. Right? These women out here, they in there bumping coochies, right? They're in there doing more wickedness. Right? You don't see a bunch of men out here saying, man, I'm gonna hold my woman that's in prison down. Some men do it, but you see like that dude Pat Poose. What happened to him? He held that demon down while she's in prison, and as soon as she got out, she committed adultery all over this dude, man, and made a fool of him, bro. Because that's what you get. You got options. You're an Israelite man. You got more options than you know of, right? A lot of you Jakes, you focus on these women in America or even South America, but we are Israelite men. We have the pick of the litter when it comes to all women of all nations, bro. Right? And these women don't like that. They prefer a nigga that's locked up in prison, right? They prefer a nigga that's... I ain't even gonna go there. But anyway, let me keep on reading. It says right here, it says, this shit is crazy. It says perceive safety and control. This is an important one. Emotional safety. Some women feel emotionally safer with men who are incarcerated. How? This nigga is a fucking monster. Yeah, committing all kinds of social crimes, physical crimes, killing people, assaulting people on drugs, selling drugs. How are you emotionally safe with a nigga like this? Well, it says some women feel emotionally safer with men who are incarcerated because the physical distance and structured communication reduce risk of abuse and manipulation, which a lot of these dudes are manipulating these women to keep them alive because they ain't got. When you're in prison, you're stuck. Your life is on pause, right? You have no means of earning any real substantial income. You have no means of forwarding your life past your prison cell. Like you're in chattel slavery. So a dude that's locked up, he's trying to figure out a way to get some money so he can put it on his books and pay off his jail debts, right? That's what he want. He looking for a woman to hold him down in that condition. It says control. The relationship dynamic can feel more manageable. The woman often controls the flow of the relationship, when to visit and how much to communicate. You see, because he got to call on the 3-way, 2-way. He got to call her. He only get like 30 minutes on the phone, right? She could be doing whatever, getting screwed, all of that. He don't know. He's none the wiser, right? She's the only connection to the outside world. So these women love that. They love that control factor. Like Genesis says, fantasy and idolization. With limited real life interactions, it's easier to idealize the man, focus on his good qualities and potential rather than everyday flaws. And that's why these women don't want a working class man, because they got to see him every day. They focus on him, and they're, Satan jumping on him, so they start bugging out on him. A dude in prison, he just committed the most heinous crimes, like Ted Bundy. Like this dude, Ted Bundy, right? Ted Bundy committed heinous crimes against women, but yet it was droves of women writing this dude. It says serial killer Ted Bundy was a subject of widespread hybristophilia, with many women writing him love letters and attending his trials. So this is just not a problem amongst Israelite women. It's a problem amongst all women. All these nations of women, they love a man that's a criminal. They love that criminal element. That gives them a thrill. It gets them hot in their pants. They like men that knock them upside their head. They like men that lie to them and do all kinds of wild shit to them. That turns them on. Because a woman is wicked. Right? You don't understand that. Your mama is wicked. Your granny is wicked. Your auntie, your favorite cousin on your sister, on your daddy's side, she's a demon. And this shows you it. Right? All these men locked the fuck up in prison, right? Due to systemic reasons. Also, too, due to reasons of their own hand. And these women will choose a man that's in a fucking cell. And then they have the audacity to look at you like you're wrong because you're out here in the free world, right? And you have more options. See, these women have options with men in prison. But in the streets, in the so-called free world, they ain't got these options. In the so-called free world, they gotta get in line, right? And they don't like that. They want that control factor, right? That's disgusting. This is crazy, bruh. Hybristophilia is really a problem. It says, let's keep on reading. it says, we hit perceived safety, fantasy, and idolization, right? It says, let's go back to fantasy and idolization. With limited real-life interactions, it's easier to idealize the man. Focus on his good qualities. See, when you're out here in the real world, these women don't want to focus on your good qualities or potential rather than everyday flaws. Yeah, like he's a fucking serial killer. Yeah. The relationship can take on a storybook quality. See, these women, they live in a fantasy world. Women live in a fucking fantasy world, bro. It says storybook qualities. It says the relationship can take on a storybook quality where the woman feels like she's saving or redeeming someone. And Jake go through that shit too when you dealing with these women in these other countries. It's like you're talking to a woman in another prison, bro. Or you're in a prison. She's in a prison, a poverty prison. I know this from experience, man. Bro, you don't got to do that. You don't got to do none of that shit, bro. You got options, brothers. Like, you got way more options than these women do. Right? They don't let these women lie to you. It says the relationship can take on a storybook quality where the woman feels like she's saving or redeeming someone. Rescue complex or fixing mentality. Some women are drawn to the idea of rehabilitating or fixing a man. Yeah, you can't rehabilitate or fix a man that's a fucking serial killer. You ain't gonna do that. They may feel needed or valued in this role, especially if they had past trauma or unhealthy relationship patterns. And that's what the majority of you so-called black and Latino and Native American women in America, that's what you have. You got a ton of fucking trauma. You're extremely problematic, and you're trying to. I don't know what the fuck you're trying to do, man. You just like a jailbird niggas, man. You just like them. It's fucking disgusting, bro. This shit is fucking disgusting. It says, yeah. Oh man, this gets good. It says verse 3, number 3, rescuing complex or fixing mentality. Some women are drawn to the idea of rehabilitating or fixing a man. They may feel needed or valued in this role, especially if they had past trauma or unhealthy relationship patterns. And the majority of you women, you have extreme unhealthy relationship patterns. You with Tom, Dick, and Harry, you're on a cock carousel and all of that. And it's crazy because on TikTok, there's prison women that are in prison that are looking for pen pals or people to sign up for their JPay and shit. And they jump out the window. They get real freaky. They be talking about how they ready to, they DTF, down to F, all of that shit. These women are crazy, bruh. The women in prison are worse than, and sometimes men in prison. Low self-esteem or past trauma. Women who've experienced neglect, abuse, that's the majority of you black bitches, or instability may be drawn to these relationships because they seem familiar or emotionally less risky. A man in prison may show excessive attention or affection, because he wants some money on them books, which can be alluring to someone who feels unloved or overlooked, and that's the majority of you women. Loneliness and companionship. Inmate pen pal programs and social media groups often connect lonely individuals with prisoners, and genuine emotional bonds can form. Some women simply want connection and are open to non-traditional relationships. Yeah, that's why even when it comes to a man having more than one woman, a woman will deal with a man that's doing that as long as she can get in the bed with the other woman, right? Commit evil and wickedness. This is crazy. You supposed to abhor a person that's going through some shit like this, bro. Attention and exclusivity. Incarcerated men often focus intensely on their partner. Again, they want servants. For some women, this undivided attention is deeply appealing. There's a sense of exclusivity there, the only one or holding him down, which builds a strong emotional bond. Yeah, like she's the only one. Yeah, because this nigga's locked up. He's never coming home. And that's another thing, too. She don't care. He's never coming home. Media and cultural influence. Shows like Love After Lockup, Orange is the New Black, which they idealize going to prison. Ain't nothing idyllic about going to fucking prison or jail or county. None of that shit. Shows like Love After Lockup, Orange is the New Black, and others have romanticized or at least normalized the idea of loving someone behind bars. These portrayals sometimes make prison relationships seem dramatic and passionate or heroic. Financial and legal motivations. In some cases, benefits like money, housing support, or legal protection are part of the equation. Conversely, the low material demands of a prison relationship might be appealing compared to real world dating experience, which in the real world, these black women, nobody wants to date them. Nobody wants to date them in the so-called free world. Right? They're not the choice. They're not the pick of the litter. They're the last hired and the first fired in relationships. They got 10 and 5 baby daddies, right? They fucking all over the place, undisciplined, right? They have no structure, no order. They're emotionally erratic. This is what you got to deal with when you deal with these demons, man. You see? And they don't like to hear that. Like Apostle Gabar, he did a video last week, said if you really want to know, understand women, man, read the scriptures. Read the scriptures. The scriptures tell it all. The scriptures the Lord gave a tape up on these women, man. Right? It says all wickedness. Let me get that real quick. All wickedness. All wickedness in the apocrypha. Yep. It says, man. Yep. Sirach chapter 25, verse 19, Ecclesiasticus 25 and 19. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. And that's what you see. And that's what you see, a bunch of men out here that just sitting crazy, and then they dealing with these wild, crazy women. Right? That's their portion. Right? That's their portion. Let's go back to ChatGPT. Right? ChatGPT. It says, right here, number 9, rebellion and anti-establishment sentiment. Some women are attracted to bad boys or men seen as rebels or victims of the system. This can be an act of defiance against societal norms, families, or past life choices. Right? And that's what you see. These women got a psychological, these women are suffering from a grave psychological issue, man. Right? Right? They love a jailbird, man. Right? They love a thug. They love a YN, a scammer. They love a murderer, a liar, a thief. Right? Because women love wickedness. That's why Eve went off. She's attracted to that shit. Right? They hate, women hate righteousness, bro. The vast majority of you women hate righteousness, man. There's some women that believe, right? I've yet to meet one that was a real sincere woman, right? But I'm sure that there are women out there. But for the most part, these women, they love wickedness, bro. They love it because it's in them. Right? You can't look for no woman to be righteous on no level. She'll feign righteousness, but she ain't gonna be righteous. It ain't in her. It ain't given to her. Right? It ain't given to her, man. And this is a great example of that, man. Let's just have to say shalom and on to the next. Shit is crazy.